many fans you are in this shit.
Hello and welcome back to coverage of the 2023 Swedish Open. We are in Böra, south of Sweden at Ymergårdens Discgolfcenter. There is some intermittent clouds and light winds throughout the day, some great weather for disc golf, and an even better course that we are happy to be bringing you. This is FPO Round 1 Back 9 feature card coverage brought to you by MDG Media. I'm Connor Wood, and with me, Elias Luukkonen.
What is up, viewers? Welcome to watch another half of a round of disc golf as we see the top 10. Matilda Ringboom, obviously getting the hot front 9 of 2 under. Right after that, 3 players on our card, Silva, Anniken and Sofie, getting 1 under, only 1 back off the lead. So we have some good quality play on the card here. Looking forward to seeing that continue on the back 9 or even improve. Back 9 is starting with a very short par 3, only 74 meters. Pretty straight, you see the out of bounds area on the right here. So you have to go over the out of bounds. It's a bit of a mental intimidator on this short par 3. It's a pretty straight shot. You would ideally land just slightly short of the basket. Slide your way up there because it's a pretty fast green. And also, there's OB behind the basket, about 8 meters long. So distance control here and just keeping the disc straight.
Silva with a soft turnover off the tee, catching a tree and kicking, I think, maybe fortunate, although she's not too close. That looks to be firing long towards that aforementioned OB. We see Sofie there just a little bit high, bleeding out to the left, but also within a putting range. She's shown good confidence from there.
Yeah, and Anniken being able to utilize, or hopefully being able to utilize that left hand advantage on the right finishing hole. Just pulls it slightly to the left. But not much harm done there as Hanna throws the turnover a little bit too low. Everybody is within putting distance, setting up for some highlight putts like Anniken does from 13 meters. That's an incredible one.
Oh, and Sofie with a bid there as well, almost cashing hers in. We see Silva, though, connecting on her highlight. And Hanna now.
Sofie there with the par. And moving on to the next one. That was some highlight putts we saw. Hole 11. 89 meters par 3. Very specific angle. You have to go straight off the tee. And at about 50 meters, you have to start turning drastically to the right. Through this pretty wide gap, you want to go with something pretty high to hopefully get that carry to the right. So you want that steep anhyzer angle, and then you want the disc to fly and glide to the right, hopefully getting some of that flat fade at the end to get all of that distance. It's a very difficult hole to park and a very specific angle you have to throw.
We see Silva trying to hit that line. Oh, and she actually fades just short of the basket. A beautiful shape that had a complete flight all the way to the green. She's shown the line to her other feature card competitors now. Anniken playing the left-handed hyzer, of course. She comes up just a bit short down on the hill.
Yeah, as we see Hanna pulling it to the right. That's a common miss here when you're trying to get the disc to move as far right as possible, kind of pulling it to the right early. As we see a similar shot from Sofie. Still a little bit early there. It's really specific gap, as we said. And Hanna having to really scramble through all the woods here. But she has thrown a great forehand within putting distance.
We see there's still some work to do now. Anniken up the hill.
She's been putting incredible this round, and that continues on this hole.
It's in.
Wow. Another circle 2 putt. Can she even miss?
She's just... I don't think so. Not right now, at least. She is red hot. As we see that short putt for Hanna, Sofie as well to put this in. And you see Silva's disc there, an incredible tee shot, leaving her with the tap in birdie. 2 for 2 along with Anniken here in this back nine. A really nice start for our feature card.
Yeah, that was some impressive stuff, both throwing and putting wise. As we move on to hole 12, a bit of a longer par 4 this time, 165 meters. Going along this path of wood chips, anywhere on the wood chips is really a good place to land. You would obviously like to get as much distance off the tee as possible. Ideally even push that 100 meter sign there, leaving yourself with only just a 60 meter approach. Approach is, if you're a bit shorter, it's more of a flex shot, and if you're far down the fairway, it's a flat to hyzer. Need to have good touch on this green, but it's certainly not an insanely difficult hole, but there is certainly a lot of challenge as far as the distance. And staying on this fairway is kind of tricky, as we see from Anniken skipping off the wood chips.
And I'd like to take a moment to point out the significant volume of mulch and wood chips lining the fairway. Some great work done into the maintenance and design of this course. You can really see the love and thoughtfulness put in by the people. So thank you to everyone involved in getting this tournament set up. We see 2 more throws there landing just middle to left side fairway as we're left with our upshots now.
Yeah, Silva going with the common turnover approach there. Hit some of the late trees and still within putting distance, although certainly not in the circle. As Sofie also is heading towards those same trees on the left. It's one of the tougher bunkers before the basket for sure. You see many shots end up near those trees, as Anniken does as well.
Quite a precise late gap in the fairway that you need to hit, and not always a very clean angle, often having to manufacture soft turnover, soft hyzer, maybe baby flex, as we see Hanna there trying to shape that out. Doesn't quite have it turning the whole way, but fights through and will be left with a putt.
Sofie having to go with forehand roller and unfortunately hits the first tree there. Gonna have a long putt for par, which is unfortunate on this hole. Let's see if she can actually sink this. A very aggressive putter, as we saw on the front nine, made a big highlight putt on one of the holes, but not this time, unfortunately. Gonna have to settle for the bogey.
Anniken's putter finally hitting the floor, but very awkward look for her, and she's done well to put herself up into that green. And a solid connection from Hanna as she secures that birdie. Really nicely done. Confident and great translation from a tricky lie on the second.
Yeah, Hanna also starting the back nine very solid with 1 par and 2 birdies there in the last 3 holes. It's certainly a very scoreable stretch on this course. You know, many of the holes are very reachable as far as par 3s, and also this par 4 is, you know, just a couple of regular shots for some of these high-level players. As we see Silva almost getting a spit out. She kind of stared it down there, wheeling it into the basket. As we move on to hole number 13. 86 meters, a pretty straight and a very tight par 3. Have to throw something straight through this gap. You can see the middle tree on the right side that the drone is flying just left of. You can really choose whether you want to play a bit of a flip up straight shot on the left side or more of a hyzer shot from around the outside on the right of that tree. Really up to the player to make that choice, and both routes can work. I would say the hyzer route is more common here. Or it's
See Hanna up first, yeah.
As we saw from Hanna, it's actually not really a hyzer. It's more of like a flat shot that fades at the end. Silva hitting the middle tree there, unfortunately.
Yeah, worth pointing out the distinction between that long fighting hyzer or a hyzer flip up to flat that has a late fade, whereas the one angle hyzer going to be fighting with that fade earlier in the flight. That's a nice straight look right up the pipe, and even a soft counter skip there for Anniken. This is Sofie now, a little bit low out of the hand, but also turning into the gap, doesn't complete the full ground play, and just a little bit higher, and she would be right up there, but you see what she's left with, a long putt approach.
Yep, gonna be a pretty simple par there. Let's see if we can see some long putts on this hole. Almost good run there from Hanna. It's a quite well protected basket area if you go at all long, so good to be on the short side. As Silva fires one aggressively chain height, but it's way past the basket now. Gonna have to handle some nervy comebacker.
Anniken as well, unable to find the chains. She goes just by it. This is a great example of really strong putters who are confident running it from circle 2. This is what you see, is that they're very comfortable coming back from that 5 to 7 meter range when needed. Something that they can really allowing them to open up the aggressive lines from circle 2 and maybe even beyond that. We see Sofie there in for 3.
Yeah, and I have to point out that even though we saw some putting struggles from Silva in the early holes, missing a couple of inside the circle putts, being able to come back from that and make some of these great, comebackers and even the first putts, really impressive and speaks of some strong mental game on her part. Hole 14, 98 meters, uphill playing closer to 110. Have to choose either the right gap or the left side gap of those first trees. Ideally land somewhere up here and hopefully take a skip forward towards this basket that is perched quite near OB. It's only about 4 meters to the right side OB. It's a really, really difficult birdie, and if you can give yourself a look here, you're really, really happy.
Hanna still holding the box, gets us started here on 14, battling on the right side of that tree and hyzering out. She'll be a little bit short. Silva now with more power, opting for the left side turnover, trying to flex one out for distance. You see her get that nose just a little bit too up, a touch higher than the grade of the hill, but rather too high than too low, I think, when trying to battle the altitude.
Yeah, I could agree with that statement. As Anniken is throwing a beautiful line on the left side of the tree, getting that skip up there a little bit short still, having to consider that trapped tree inside the box of the wooden box. And Sofie pulling it slightly to the right, but still gonna be chance for par here. This hole is rarely birdied, and many players are really happy with the par if they can just get it here.
We see Hanna now from around one of those boxed trees, and just skimming it actually on the way, gets it slightly overturned on her Anheuser putting release. Anniken with a nicely framed putt, although very difficult, from way downtown. She gets that one right up underneath the basket.
Yeah. Let's see if Silva can get a stroke on the entire card here. This would be a true highlight putt. Just hits it low there. Kind of hesitant with the OB near behind the basket. And Sofie there. Great par putt. And great scramble from the short right side of the fairway.
We see Hanna securing her 3 there as well. And as we see all of these putts come in, this is another hole similar to hole 8, where there were no birdies in the field. So still elusive, still yet to be found by our FPO field. A tricky hole.
Yeah, that's another hole that really requires some good distance, and it's a huge advantage if somebody can easily or comfortably reach it. As we move on to a much shorter hole 15 and much tighter one. You have a very tight gap of the tee, maybe only about 3 meters wide. After the gap you have to move slightly to the right, hopefully before those backside trees come into play. There's OB on the left side of the basket, and if you're fading out or hitting some trees and kicking left, you're really challenging that OB. It's only about 4.5 meters from the basket, so comes into play with putting as well.
There you see a nice hyzer release that was looking to turn but getting a little beat up along the way. I think perhaps not quite as much turn as she may have needed, but still looking like a good use of the understability. Silva here shaping this so nicely, turning right the whole way and ending with a flat panning finish forwards. That is an ideal line here on 15.
Yeah, that was the perfect shot from Silva, obviously. And being able to land that disc flat compared to the hyzer angle of Anniken. Anniken hitting the gap very well and also hitting the line, but the left-hand hyzer angle at the left of the at the end of the shot, really skipping far ways out from the basket. And Sofie kind of fading out there, but gonna have a pretty easy par, I believe. Not much running for the putt from here, as it is a very windy green and an elevated basket.
Yeah, the woods do protect from some of the winds, but on the more exposed greens, you see that lift Sofie's disc there just into the band. A great bid from Circle 2. It was quite windy, between 17 and 25 kilometer an hour winds. It was significant in round 1. As we see another putt come up just a bit short, and Silva cashing an amazing birdie off an amazing shot. Really solid, right into that headwind, no stress at all.
Yeah, very good drive and very good putt there. And Silva is putting together a great round already at 4 under, even before the final 3 holes. You can just see how windy it is on this green. I believe it is the windiest green on the course, since there's this huge open field behind the basket. Hole 16, 92 meters. Slightly uphill once again, playing closer to 100. It's a relatively tight gap off the tee, but much tighter gap down the fairway here. You want your disc to be flying straight. For majority of the fairway, ideally finishing just slightly to the right. Hopefully reach this elevated basket, or at least be within putting distance. OB is lining the whole right side of the fairway. So many people kind of scared of that, but Silva certainly not scared of that, as she turns it way over into the early right side trees.
Yeah, I think Silva absolutely crushed that thing, turning it over way more than intended. We see a great adjustment there from Hanna, who hyzering out a bit early, but hitting the fairway much more centered.
Yeah, I believe this is a big advantage for Anniken, having that left-hand backhand spin, able to finish right at the end, but not quite with that shot, as she hits some trees early.
And a similar result there.
Yeah, Sofie, unfortunately.
We see Sofie now.
Unfortunately, even kicks OB to the right side. That's a really unfortunate result, and you could just see how close that OB line was.
She came into that green super fast. Did she actually find the other OB long?
Yeah, OB that's wrapping around the basket that she went way past, actually finding the OB once again. So brutal result, gonna be putting for double bogey from outside the circle, I believe, as we saw much better approach from Anniken.
And a rare misfire from Silva, hitting the tree directly in front of her. Effectively a rethrow from a slightly larger gap now, and she hits another late guardian on her way. I think a manageable putt for her, but slightly unforced error there. As we see Hanna looking up the hill, I think going to be looking for this Anheuser putt. Just a bit low.
Yep, pretty conservative bid here, as it's very rare to see aggressive putts on this basket, especially from this angle. The OB is right behind. Oh, great run from Sofie for the double bogey, but gonna have to settle for the triple bogey 6.
Silva will settle for that single bogey Only really one poor throw from her there as she finds 3, and Sofie putting that one in. Still some work to be done, you saw. That was not a free putt, but Sofie composing herself, taking the triple, Anniken securing yet another par, retaining her 3 under so far. Tied with Silva now, who actually took the bogey on 16. Those two are leading this feature card, and Hanna with the par to remain at even.
Yeah, great play from Silva and Anniken. As we said, Anniken even being a little bit sick before the tournament. So making it just that tad bit more impressive to place on such a high level. Hole 17, playing at a slight downhill, 97 meters. Pretty wide gap off the tee. You have to hit something straight. Ideally be gliding straight pretty much the whole distance off the fairway. Maybe just finish a touch left at the end, but not too far because the green is sloping down on the left and far side of the basket. So just throw something straight, hopefully land flat or with the slightest bit of fade.
Hanna with a slight early release, fortunate to kick back into the middle there. Anniken going obviously for the left-handed turnover backhand. A very touchy shot as she needs a late flipping shape, and she gets it to flip a touch early there. She'll fire off into the left side rough.
Silva with a great looking line here. Almost going at the basket.
Ooh.
That's way far, but wow, what a great ace run there.
Yeah, very aggressive line from Silva, as she's shown to do. And Sofie here with a stunning touch. Incredible soft anhyzer release. The stability of the disc, bringing it back to the left at the end. And an amazing height just to control that distance to perfection.
Yeah, that was beautiful. Oh, unfortunately, Hanna flips their approach way over and finds the right side OB. That's a really unforced error there. OB is pretty generous here, not really challenged a lot of times. Throwing 4 already from here and gonna have to settle for that double bogey.
Yeah, I think less of a misrelease on the angle and just sort of a physical error catching on her finger on the way out. And we see Anniken there just pitching back out into the fairway, and she still has a long look sloping slightly down, especially behind the basket. This is Silva actually coming back up that hill, which Anniken is putting towards. Oh, and she digs it in the chains. What an incredible putt from deep C2. She runs the ace and then makes the comebacker. Just so aggressive, so cool.
Yeah, that's such a cool way to make it. And wow, Anniken also on the right bottom pocket of the basket. Just a putting clinic on this hole with a couple of long putts. Also, shout out Sofie for that great tap-in birdie. As we move on to hole 18. A difficult par 4, 185 meters. First shot playing downhill, you want to throw your disc straight towards this stone wall. That is actually the OB line. OB on the right. And you see this Mando on the left that you have to navigate right of. So first shot you want to land on the flat there. Ideally about 100 or more meters. From there you have a very long playing uphill flat to hyzering shot into this hillside. Very common we see rollaways on this hole, but if you have the perfect drive you can almost run it in, or at least try to.
See Silva with a hyzer release flipping up to flat very high. Looks to have found some branches. We'll see just how far up the fairway she managed to fight. And Sofie here with a bit more of a nose down adjustment. That swinging hyzer, I think quite a good placement for her.
Yeah, I believe so. And this is a very difficult hole for the left hand. Let's see what Anniken can do with the forehand here. Looks like a good angle. Hopefully able to fade before that long OB. As she does. That's just a perfect shot. Only about 90 meters from the basket.
Yeah, very nice. We see Hanna now She's put the jacket on, indicating it may be a little bit colder here, or maybe even a delay on 18. It was the third hardest hole of the day statistically, so right at the end of the round, a good test of your focus, your physical execution, where your mind and body are at, as we see Anniken trying to push the left-handed turn over.
Yeah, I believe kicking off the tree and OB over the stone wall. That's a bad break, and wow, gonna be a difficult, even bogey save from there. Hanna there with a decent shot, only about 30 meters left to the basket from there. And Sofie going inside here, trying to possibly reach that basket, actually going long and right. That's a big shot, and gonna have a look for the birdie, I believe.
Silva in an amazing place on the fairway, fires a very nice upshot there, just a laser. Unfortunately, hits that late rock, kicking her away, but still right up there, I think, just outside bullseye. Silva really dissected this hole into 2 clean shots. We see Anniken here. She's kicked OB off the right side, so she's now looking to battle up there, put it close, and she's done exactly that. A little bit of filter to the right side, but a very smooth shot. I think that ground play is a little bit out of her control.
Yep, very makeable there. As we see Hanna putting it up to the hillside. Gonna have a bit of a tester putt on this final hole. Sofia almost getting that great birdie on this one. Gonna have to settle for the par, but it was a good bid there. Very windy on this final hole too. It's kind of in the open and especially affecting some of these putts, making that putter kind of, wobble, and it's not that comfortable here. You can see the flag really just ripping as it raises Anniken's putter up in the air.
Yeah, especially if you are combating the slope from below or above, forcing the nose down or nose up into the wind can make it significantly harder. You see Silva there just tap in her birdie to have a strong finish going. Birdie on 15, 17, and 18 with only the slight blemish there on 16 in her back 9. Sofie tapping in the par. Anniken taking the double bogey with the penalty stroke from the right side OB. And Hanna with the 5. Round 1 is in the books.
Yeah,
that was a lot of fun.
Yeah, that was a fun round and some good highlights we saw. Insane play from Silva, really separating herself from the field. Anniken, unfortunately, dropping with that double bogey to tied for second. Tied with her are Amanda Lennartsson and Marianne Must, all at 1 under, and a pretty tight field after that. So many players still looking forward to make a push, hopefully bring some of that lead from Silva down in the second round.
Absolutely, an exciting conclusion to round 1. We appreciate you joining us. We hope you had a good time, and join us for round 2 later on.